So originally in the area kind of behind me, we had a lovely green lawn that kind of rolled down from the swimming pool onto where the pathway behind me is now. And it served its purpose well while my boys were younger, but they've kind of grown up. They don't need a lawn anymore. They've become more social beings now, and we started developing a need for additional seating and entertainment spaces in the garden. But the big reason for changing the lawn came about during a hard lockdown last year, when our very rambunctious boxer dog completely destroyed the lawn. He didn't have anywhere to run and exercise, and he just ran the garden completely flat. So by the time lockdown was finished, hard lockdown was finished, the lawn was practically non-existent. And that was actually just the excuse I needed, because for a long time I'd been umming and ahhing about taking the lawn out, and I thought, well, this poses the perfect opportunity. I'll remove the lawn. We built in a little retaining wall to level off one section of the lawn, and then on top of that terrace we created a little fire pit / seating area where the boys can actually entertain and have friends around. And then in the rest of the lawn area we created a pathway that kind of meanders through the garden to various different spots, so you can just wander through the garden, enjoy different little vignettes or different little views of the garden depending on where you want to be. It leads to a number of different little seating areas and ultimately into the vegetable garden, and you can access the whole garden through this area now. And of course I don't have any more problems with rambunctious boxer dogs. So some of the features that we've brought into the garden just to make it more interesting and more inviting for the viewer is, first of all, the little fish pond. As you come down the steps off of the terrace onto the pathway, we positioned the fish pond so that it would become a little focal point. And then as you walk down the pathway, you'll see that we've brought in 3 round kind of moon gate style arches. Those are really there just to kind of frame views and vistas, and they also create a visual pool through the garden. Along with the arches, which we painted red, you'll notice some big red balls that have been positioned throughout the garden, and they are there for ornamental effect, but they're also there for practical effect, because aside from the fact that our very rambunctious sergeant destroyed the lawn, he also started running paths through all the flower beds and flattening everything. And he's quite a big dog, and he gets very fast. He picks up a lot of speed. So I needed to figure out a way to slow him down a bit. And so I positioned the balls in the beds almost like a slalom course, so that he couldn't get a flat out running pace going. And that's kind of slowed him down and saved the garden. But of course, I needed them to look like they'd been planned. So I painted them bright red to fit in with the rest of the colors. And I just love the way the red pops against the green in the garden and creates a bit of a focal point and a bit of interest in the garden as you walk through. So one of the reasons I situated the fire pit where it is because it's out in the open. It's not near a roof. It's not covered by any trees. You obviously always got to think about issues like that when you put a fire pit in, because you don't want to set things alight or start burning things. I also made sure that it's centered properly in the middle of the space, so that the people sitting and working or using the chairs are not too close up to the fire pit. You don't want them to get burnt either. And then we used a permeable floor on the fire pit. I made it up of a combination of railway sleepers and slate and pebbles, so that when it rains, it will drain properly, that we won't have any flooding scenarios going on in that area. I also like the fact that it's a little bit raised and separated from the rest of the garden, which creates a sense of privacy, like when people are in there, they're in their own little space or their own little room. The boys particularly love it because they can be separated from the adults. They can have their chill space while we're sitting on the patio enjoying our chill space. And I think that's something to think about when you've got teenagers and older kids. They don't necessarily always want to be associated with the adults or the bullets or whatever you want to call them. So give them a space, let them entertain and live as they want to live.